Hey, okay, so hello everyone. I will not tell you what Dan just said
I
because
was joking.
I know, I'm just kidding. Something about McDavid. Let me move. Let me move.
Comparing McDavid
There
to Alexander
we go.
Daig.
No.
All right, so I got something very cool sent to us by a listener, and I wanted to thank this. This is Carol in Winnipeg, and Carol in Winnipeg sent me this behind it. This little thing here. Now, what this is apparently in Canada a few years ago. I don't know how many years ago. Maybe Mike, you would know this because you're closer to Canada.
You're pretty much Canadian.
Yeah, McDonald's gave out. Shoot, what? Let me stop this. No, we got to hear Dan again. Sorry, hold on. Freeze. Freeze. What the heck?
I'm fine.
It's me, right?
No, you're fine too.
There we go. Sorry. Okay, we're good now. All right, so Carol in Winnipeg sends me this, and McDonald's years ago had this. I don't think this was a Happy Meal thing because these are really, but where they made these little mini trophies, and of all the major trophies in the NHL.
That's pretty awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
And to Carol in Winnipeg, I also accept free gifts.
Yes. I mean, it's like everybody's seen the Stanley Cup, but like to have a mini Vezina.
That's pretty awesome.
Trophy, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and these are nice. I mean, they have weight to them. It's surprising. I thought, she said, oh, McDonald's had this. McDonald's gave out trophies a while ago in Canada. We got a bunch of them. So, and I guess if you got all of them, you could send away for this stand.
Now, when St. Louis won the Hart, did they give him that trophy?
Right. This is the Hart. Is this the Hart?
Yeah.
This is the Hart, right? I always confuse them. So, but this is yeah, I love this. I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, my best friend had a rod hockey game that came with a little miniature Stanley Cup.
Okay.
You could get the little rod hockey games, and it came with a little miniature Stanley Cup, and I was always so incredibly jealous of it. So that's why another reason I just love miniature trophies, because as a kid I always wanted that miniature Stanley Cup so badly. I used to challenge him. I'm like, if I can beat you in rod hockey, I get your miniature Stanley Cup, right? So since then I started collecting Stanley Cups. I have a lot of little miniature Stanley Cups, but this is a good one. I mean, this is like...
Mike, that's what the Stanley Cup looks like, just in case you forgot.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for that.
I'm sorry, I'm still on a lot of Advil cold and sinus, so there's no censor today.
In a minor bit of breaking news here, Act, we don't have to talk about it other than just because everybody else is tweeting it out. Team North America, the Young Guns,
yes,
for next year's World Cup, have announced Todd McClellan as the head coach. So Todd McClellan will be able to coach Connor McDavid at the World Cup next year.
You think he'll make the team? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's got a shot.
Wait, do you think he's going back to juniors after 9 games?
The Erie Otters could use some help. Dylan Strome only had 5 assists in his first game.
That's all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So only on this show can you get a chance to see Claude Giroux carrying a Stanley Cup. Here you go.
Right, yeah, you're right. That's the only way.
Here you go. So there's Claude Giroux carrying a Stanley Cup, everyone.
And it's a life-size model of Claude Giroux.
It's about right, yeah. Or, this is even more rare, Evel Knievel.
We are off the rails already.
Yeah,
Evel
I was
Knievel
going to say.
Holding up the Stanley Cup. Here he is. Evel Knievel, yep. There he is. Perfect. There you go. We're off the rails. All right, so put Evel Knievel back here behind the Stanley
He
Cup.
jumped over the Snake River with the Stanley Cup in the back of his rocket.
Yep. We'll leave him back there with his trophies. Anyway, let's start the show. It's Friday. I've been wanting it to be Friday all week. I've called it Friday every day.
It's good to see not much has changed since I've been gone.
Yes. No, you're fine. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, October 16th, 2015.
I'm Dan Petru.
Oh, wait a second.
I jumped you.
There you go.
I'm Michael Agello.
And that's the first time Mike hasn't gone first in the
I couldn't remember who went first, so I just spoke. There was a pause.
I like it.
Start the show again.
Yeah.
In the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is episode 359. That's right. We've almost gone completely around in a circle. 359. And next week we're gonna reach our special 1 year of shows, 364.
Yes.
So next Friday.
The show's longer than a calendar year, but it'll be.
Yes, it's been longer than a calendar year, but we don't do shows on Saturdays and Sundays, and holidays where we spend time with our loving families. But besides that, yes, we do. So we're going to start today with a signing, and an interesting one at that. Now, I had heard since the summer, and why this is interesting is in the summer I actually heard that this was close to getting done, but it was close to getting done in a 4-year deal. So instead, what we have today is Plekanec signing a 2-year deal for a $6 million, roughly, or maybe exactly, AAV. But what's more interesting than this, on all of that to me, is that there is not a no movement clause or a no trade clause. And when a player like Plekanec, who I thought was going to sign a 4-year deal, signs a 2-year deal, and does so without a no movement clause on top of it, because usually a shorter deal would get him the no movement and no trade clause, you would think.
Right.
You have to start thinking that, either he or both the Canadians and he are hedging their bets here as to what's going to happen with Plekanec down the road, because really this year, this year he signed, but we're talking about 2 years after this, right? So next year, okay, he begins the first year of his last 2 years, in Montreal perhaps, and this is not going to get Plekanec out of the trade rumors. This is going to be, especially how things go here.
Well, I think the $6 million salary may get him out of the trade rumors because I don't think he's going to be worth it. I mean, he's 32 years old.
Yeah, but he's still really good.
I think he's still a quality player, and I think obviously Bergevin hit a home run here because the one thing that would be scary is a declining Plekanec in the last 2 years of a 4-year contract, making $5.5 million. Here he gets $1 million raise on a 2-year deal. But I was a little surprised. I was taken aback by what you just said, by the no move, no trade. I figured if he was going to get locked up on a shorter term deal, that would be part of it. But this gives Bergevin the short term deal, not a massive cap hit, and the flexibility that if he does drop off, that he can move him. But honestly, if he drops off from what he is right now, good luck trying to move a guy with a $6 million salary. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, but
I think there's teams that would take him.
I mean he's plus it's a short deal, So when you try to trade, he only has 2 more years when you trade for him. So if they trade for him next year, he's only got 2 years. If it's $6 million at 4 years, it's a different deal. Because $6 million at 2 years is essentially $6 million at 1 year, because the last year of the contract is the last year. You got to either re-sign him or trade him or lose him for nothing, right? So.
What if you traded him in Montreal, ate him $2 million?
Right.
He might look more attractive.
Oh yeah. Now I think this is a bit of the hedging of Galchenyuk, where he's gone, because they've been playing Galchenyuk at center, but I watched carefully a couple times, and he's on a line with Lars Ellers, and at times Lars Ellers is the center on that line, and he's playing this what we would call a center's role. He's taking face-offs. He's the third guy high, that kind of stuff. We're seeing,
why won't
the third guy's high. Mike is back.
Wheels off of him. He has talent. He has offensive talent. I know he's not great in his own end, but at what point are you going to take the training wheels off?
That's the point, Dan. I mean, you're talking about Michel Therrien, who is a defensive-minded coach, and maybe he will yield to his general manager's want to have Galchenyuk playing up the middle. But when it comes to key face-offs, I'm sure Eller will probably take them. And when it comes to defensive responsibility, I'm sure he probably has told Eller, get back there, because we don't know where this kid's going to go. I mean, right now it's a lack of trust on the part of the coach of a young player, and maybe after a while that will dissipate. But I think Galchenyuk's role is more to create offense for a team that has trouble creating offense.
Is this his 4th year? This is his 4th season, right? Or 3rd?
2012 draft.
Okay, so this is
3rd, right? 3rd year.
With the way Carey Price is playing, did you see last night? I think you could.
Oh yeah, no, that was.
I think you could take training wheels off. I think he can cover a few mistakes right now.
I've never seen a goaltender be more at ease during a 5-on-3 power play than Price. He made a save yesterday. I think it was on Kreider. It was sort of a one-timer across cross ice, and he was there, no problem. Whereas most goalies would be outstretched, throwing out the glove, and be immersed in Kreider, and he was there and he stopped the shot. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Hey, Ty.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. So we're just talking Plekanec's deal, which is a 2-year deal. No
totally missed
no trade clause. Surprising to me.
Well,
Thoughts?
$7 million.
Well,
Go ahead, Ty.
7 million total. I totally missed it. I've been out of the loop today. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know I was invited to this show until I went on the computer this morning. Yeah, no,
Well,
I
thanks for
missed
paying
everything
attention,
this
Tyler.
morning. So 2 years and what was it?
2 years, $6 million per. He's getting $7 million first year, $5 million second year.
So that takes him out of the Stamkos sweepstakes for next season, which
That
I
does
thought
take him out of the
I
Stamkos
thought they were going to
sweepstakes.
be the dark horse there.
That's interesting.
But no, I mean that makes sense. I think you've seen what Plekanec is worth to the Montreal Canadiens. He is basically their version of Patrice Bergeron. All zones, does power play, does shorthand work, even strength. So it makes sense, I think, looking back on that. But at the same time, is he worth that money per year? To most teams, maybe not, but to the Montreal Canadiens, yes. That's how I would look at that. And that 2-year deal allows that gap, between Galchenyuk getting paid if he does continue to develop and what they think he can be, along with some of the other guys that they'll need to take care of at this point, 2 years from now. So I think that's a fair deal for Montreal, and this is a player that obviously Michel Therrien just loves. So I think that probably says a lot for Therrien's long-term security in Montreal. So I don't know. I mean, makes sense for Montreal, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite sold because like I said before, I think it's a bit of hedging on their part because I think that he wanted a longer deal, probably for not as much money, but he did want a no move or no trade clause. He can get either of those, which is intriguing because if Galchenyuk, it does give Bergevin the chance now to actually play it out a little bit. Like he can see how Galchenyuk does, and he doesn't have to necessarily make a decision on Galchenyuk at center right away because he has the ability to move Plekanec now, which is pretty huge. I mean, that's pretty huge. I think he's valuable, and that $5 million in second year, Mike, is also pretty significant because that does open up other teams who would like the cap hit, but want to pay less.
Sure.
So
especially if Montreal agrees to retain some of the salary to make it more palatable for another team. So yeah, I agree.
Now here's talk about long shots for Stamkos. I'm writing about this for the weekend, I think, but I'll tease a little bit now. I keep hearing Dallas as a long shot for Stamkos, and that
How?
Can you imagine? I mean, how is it exactly right? But I don't know how.
They already have two centers.
Yeah.
I know.
He would have to play the wing, and that's the one thing that is possibly driving him out of Tampa.
Right, he doesn't want to play wing.
Yeah, he wants to play center. And
he could play center in Brooklyn.
Well, yeah. I think he could play center in Toronto, too.
Yeah, he might want to win something.
The one thing that does play into this is he takes a pay cut leaving Tampa,
right?
Because of taxes, and unless he goes to Dallas, which is actually the same situation, right? So that's the one thing. And I don't think Stamkos is really all about the money, but it is also about he does want to go someplace that's going to be competitive, and he does have a really good relationship with Jim Nill, I was told. So,
I mean, anything is possible with Stamkos. The one thing that I'll say, and I'm not talking about him going home and him going to play for the team that he rooted for as a kid. I mean, that's all nice. That's all happy stuff. But in the end, it probably doesn't mean anything. I think that the possibility of him going to Toronto, and you look at the Toronto media market, he could conceivably make more money in endorsements than he makes in salary in Toronto. It's very possible.
And you know what the most he can make in salary is? Did you just check this out? Right now, because he can make, they can make 20%. You know what that is? $14 million. Right. So he could sign a $14 million contract.
Well, he could. Well, okay, he could. I will bet dollars to donuts that he is asking for as much money as Kane and Taves are making. I bet you anything that Tampa doesn't want to pay that. I would think that Toronto would, and Toronto would be capable of doing it because they've got that $5 million discount coupon named Nathan Horton for the next 4 years. I mean, there are a lot of factors here where I still think he's going to end up signing before the year is out, but if he gets to July 1, I think Toronto is the big player.
What's the word on Hedman, too, just since we're talking Tampa?
Well, he got elbowed. It looked like it was an elbow from Jamie Benn along the boards, and he did not come back for the rest of the game. John Cooper said after the game that he had talked to him and he said that he was all right, but they were being very cautious. And for as great as Hedman is, he has had a propensity for getting hurt. I mean, last year I think he was out 6 weeks with I can't remember it was a shoulder injury, but he has been, for his size, he's been fairly brittle. And that that defense, it centers around Hedman. I mean, Strawman and Coburn and all these other guys are really good, but he's the guy that is the number one. He's the important one. So they need him. Hopefully he's not hurt too long.
Hedman has been everything for Tampa Bay. He is their rock back there.
Yeah.
He's basically on the ice for every goal for and every against. So that lets you know how often he's out there. He is an all-situation guy for them. His worth, I mean, it goes without saying, honestly, at this point. But, yeah, he didn't return last night. That game got real nasty real quickly.
Sure.
And, honestly, if Hedman's out for another long period of time, this is going to take a major effort, I think, from the Lightning because Matt Carl has not had a good start to his season. Right. Nesterov has done a lot of things well, but he's still sort of a work in progress. He pushes the pace very well, I think. They have called up Slater from the AHL. I do not know how to say his last name.
Cuckoo.
He's been a prospect for about 4 years, and I still know how to say it.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, so he's back. He's with the team now. I
was going to say, Ty, they think Nesterov may get suspended for that hit last night.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah. Well, so if that happens, now you're even short here. You're even more short here. But Andre Schuster has been a healthy scratch these past few games. Obviously not the start of the season that he wanted, I would say. So they're going to need to lean on guys like Coburn and Carl right now, and they haven't been off to the greatest start. At least to the naked eye. So Tampa Bay is going to need to win games, 5-4 here maybe for a little while. But if there is a team that can do it, it is Tampa Bay Lightning.
And with their goaltending situation, Bishop might have to play every game.
Yeah, which I believe is the plan. You look
I really think it is. Yes. Yep.
Well, he looked weak on a couple goals last night. There was one backhand.
He's been very good so far this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to criticize because there were extenuating circumstances in that game. But I mean, the one thing, not to make this the Stamkos webcast, but the one thing that Tampa Bay and Steve Yzerman has to look at, Hedman is an unrestricted free agent, not this year, but after the 2016-17 season. So they can start negotiations with him on an extension next year. He's making $4 million. Based on the type of defenseman he is, you're talking him probably making 7.5. And I think that's realistic. You pay him that much, you pay Tyler Johnson and Palat and Kucherov and all these guys. How in the hell are you going to pay Stamkos? That's my main reasoning why I don't think
Filppula and Callahan.
Well, good luck. I mean, I don't think that really, you might get
Horton's contract can be traded. Those guys can get traded.
Yeah.
Well,
you can make it work. You might have to eat a little bit, but you can make it work.
Well, the thing is that the triplets haven't been off to the greatest of starts.
No, they haven't.
So if that continues, maybe the Lightning can save $1 million here or there on their contracts over time. You never know.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge reason why this wait and see approach is good for both sides. When it comes to, because if Johnson, Kucherov, and Palat finish the year with 45 points instead of 65 each, whatever it may be, that gives the Lightning a little bit more leverage when it comes to negotiating a contract for these guys.
Sure.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of guys last night scored their 4th goal of the season already, which is interesting. When I was going through this thing, I was realizing that we have a lot of guys already off to great starts. Plekanec is one of them. Plekanec has put his 4th goal in last night. But also Jaromir Jagr scored his 4th goal of the season. How about that? I mean, that's just it's insane. I mean,
the Duke of Glendale.
Oh yeah, it's just crazy.
The Duke of not the Duke of Broadway, the Duke of Glendale.
Well, I mean, and you know what? We've talked since that trade about Yager's positive influence on the young players in Florida. And not only is it going to be off the ice, it's going to be on the ice because he's playing with Huberdeau and Barkov, and that unit is scary. I mean, Barkov had an off year in terms of offense last year, but I think it really helps to have the veteran sage like Jagr on that line, and it just works. I mean, that team they're not going to have to score a ton of goals to win games. They got Luongo, and Luongo, since he got traded there, has been the Luongo of old. So
they can sscore goals. This team can score goals. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they're off. They've got a powerful offense. The Florida Panthers do. People they're fast. I mean, and that's something that I talked to somebody about this morning, and I really agree with them when they were telling me this. That the NHL has gotten fast. Like it went from being always a quick league to being an unbelievably quick league in like the last 3 years, roughly. Like, it was fast, but then the Colorado Avalanche, I think, their first year with Patrick Roy and how quick they were, just accelerated everything. Like, and to the point now where when you watch that Dallas-Tampa game, like that was the speed of that game. It's insane. I mean, and Buffalo, Florida too. Two teams who are, maybe not, think of. They're both incredibly fast.
And fast, irrespective of size, Zach.
Right, yeah. It has nothing to do with size. It's all about speed.
Right.
Minnesota, Arizona is where they are because they are so fast. That's why they are such a good team. The Wild play faster than I've always thought. Play faster than anybody else. They're not necessarily fast, but they play fast. They really pass. So
it starts with your blue line and how quickly they can move that puck.
Yep.
And you look at Minnesota's puck movers. You look at Florida's puck movers. They got guys that can carry the puck, but they also have guys who make that first pass out of the zone, and it's gone.
And I'm not going to overemphasize the start of the Arizona Coyotes because I don't think what they're doing is for real right now. But Max Domi and Anthony Duclair are very fast skaters. They're very quick. And
very quick.
You add those two guys, and they scored again a couple. I think they combined for a couple goals.
Yeah, Duclair got his fourth. Domi got his third in that game.
Yeah, so you're talking about 20-year-old rookies who are leading the team in scoring. They're playing top 6 minutes. They can fly, and what they do is they move everybody down, into roles that they can handle, like Vermette, like Doan. Right. Like Hansel and Bodker and all these other players. If they are for real in terms of top 6 guys, that team, I don't think they're going to contend for a playoff spot, but they're not going to be the doormat of the league that everybody thought they were going to be.
Oh yeah, no, they're way too quick to be the doormat league. I mean, they've got things together, and they just look better than Colorado right now, for example. Like throw them out there, they just look better than Colorado right now. They look better than the Kings do right now. I mean, not to say they're going to be better than the Kings, but they look better than the Kings.
Kings are not a fast team. You want to talk about quick and fast.
Well, that's the thing, right? And that is what I think is speeding up the Kings' decline because
I think they got slower in the offseason too.
They did, and another fast game was the Predators Islanders game yesterday, and there's another 2 really quick teams. This was a great game too. If you're gonna say, okay, potential Stanley Cup matchups, I know people are gonna think I'm crazy, but sometimes when you watch a game, and this has happened to me a couple times in the past, I've got this mystical ability to see into the future, and this is definitely the case. I have many times in the past seen a game, just randomly flip through a game and just stopped on it, and like something hit me like a ton of bricks that you're gonna watch these teams play in the Stanley Cup final, and it's happened 3 times in my lifetime. It happened again in this one. This is the 4th time. The other 3 times, it all was the case that these teams made it to the finals. One being Philadelphia and Chicago, the year that no one really thought those teams would go to the finals. So the Islanders.
I will carry you over the Brooklyn Bridge.
All right, I'll remember that. Okay. You don't want to try carrying me though, trust me. But the Islanders and Predators. Well, Dan, I can see this.
Dan, can I ask a question? Because I was watching both the Islanders feed and the Preds feed of that game. And I think it was the Predators broadcast crew that said the crowd number was 10,200. I thought it
was 11 last night.
Was that because it was Mets-Dodgers Game 5?
People need to calm down about the numbers a little bit. They're the exact. People are acting like the Coliseum was full in October last year.
Right.
It wasn't full until about late December, January, when it became the cool thing to do. Right now, you have a lot of distractions. Especially the Mets. It's Mets and Mets only right now. But with that,
they hit it on the scoreboard. They hit it on the scoreboard. They hit it on the scoreboard during the game. I saw it.
Right. But
wait a second.
With that being said, they're basically averaging exactly what they were averaging this time in October last year. So I wouldn't worry about that yet.
Now hold on, Mike. Did they actually had the Mets game playing live on the scoreboard as the game was going on?
I saw a long shot after a TV timeout, and they had the broadcast on the scoreboard.
Not during the game. During
during a timeout.
During timeouts, yeah, they would. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I think that's cool. But because I've been to, I think we've all had moments in our life where we've been to games where another game was happening, like a big game was happening, across the street, or that happened to me a couple times with the Flyers and the Phillies would be playing in the World Series or whatever, and I'd be at a Flyers game in October, and they would be popping the scores up, and I always wish they had just put in between the breaks, just put the game up for a little bit, but that was pretty shocking to think about, like that they would possibly put it up during the game. But you're right, Dan. This is a distraction. This is a distraction for sure. And there's a little bit of but what is there of this backlash, Dan? I mean, there are people who are telling me, like I was talking to Russ the other night. I was sitting next to Russ Cohen, and he was saying that this is real. He said there are people there that are just going to boo and all this. I mean, is this true or is this not true?
Well, part of it, I've said it in some of my podcasts. People in Long Island have a difficult time accepting change.
Yeah.
Any kind of change.
Right.
And if they could accept change, they'd get these politicians that have screwed them over so many times out of office. And the same politicians who let their team walk away or push their team away have been there for years and years and years.
If they would accept
that, you have a very insecure fan base because of the last 20 years, and they will not look at the present day. They won't look at the lineup. They're looking at what's the worst that can happen. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. And but with that being said, Barclays isn't doing themselves any favors. As I wrote yesterday, like their whole policy in the pregame skate, where fans from the upper section can't go down low for the pregame skate, is pretty ridiculous.
That's awful.
And I basically said, since I'm fairly certain Brett Yormark, CEO of Barclays, will never come on my show, even though I've asked him many times, I basically said either he has employed people who don't understand the game of hockey, or he has a bunch of yes men, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because it clearly feels right now like we're sleeping on the Nets couch.
Yeah,
and it's the freaking Nets. Come on.
Well,
great way of putting it. And that's horrible, because I mean, I honestly say that part of why I am into hockey right now is because of going down every game to warm-ups before the game as a kid and sitting directly behind the goal. I would make my parents get me there because we had tickets that were way in the sky for years.
We couldn't afford those seats. And I shared some stories in yesterday's articles about Michael Nylander flipping me a puck at a game when I was a kid. He was a rookie with the Whalers. And my niece meeting, Brendan Witt tapping the glass at her first game. That was her favorite player for life. And those are the things. It feels like Yormark is creating this line between the players and the team. And if you ask the players themselves, they'll tell you it's this fan base that they're so connected to that helped them, and it helped them last year.
Yeah.
And if you see them walking around with yes, yes, yes T-shirts, that's something that was created by the fans. And it just seems like I don't think he understands how connected the NHL fans are with their players. They're not these guarded superstars like other sports who are like holier than thou and up on pedestals. They're players from, for the most part, farm towns, factory towns, small little towns throughout North America and Europe, and they're it's almost like NHL fans look at these players as their own kids.
Yeah, that's really well put.
You joked about the Islanders being on the Nets couch. That's a bit of a problem, and something I think it's a pet peeve of the league in terms of other markets. I mean, you heard Jeremy Jacobs talk a couple weeks ago about them being interested in going to some place like Houston, but they can't get in the building because the NBA is the main tenant. They want to get into Las Vegas first because they want to be the main tenant in Vegas before the NBA comes in.
Right.
So when the NHL is the second tenant in these markets, like they are in Brooklyn, they're going to get not the preferred dates, and they're going to get secondhand treatment, and that the NHL doesn't want to be treated like a redheaded stepchild.
With all that being said, though, this team is good. This team is going to continue to win. And come December, if this team is playing like it should be, the place is going to be packed. And I think winning will cure all that. And the venue itself is beautiful.
The venue's beautiful. I mean, I agree.
It's just not operated like a hockey arena.
Yeah, they have to kill that policy, and there's certain things. I mean, there's a hockey culture that's totally different. I mean, we all grew up in that same boat. That's really
Now,
bad.
for example, I said to everybody who's every day wants me to pick up the fight for every little thing that they're doing. I said the third jersey, even the goal horn, the banners, all those things are cosmetic, and they have every right to make any cosmetic changes they
Right.
want. But this is something that's hockey tradition, and if I can go
Yes.
down low in Montreal or MSG or Chicago or Boston or Philly, I should be able to take kids down low during warm-ups in Brooklyn.
There's nothing like. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten any dates in when I was in high school and college because I mean that's how that was my move, man. That was what I did. I went on a date with a girl. I took her there, and then we always got there early, and I sat her directly behind the goal, and I showed her that this is how fast this game is. This is how quick it is. These are how hard these guys are shooting.
And one final thing on this, because I don't want to spend the whole cast on it, but if you're trying to get new fans in the game, making them go sit in the upper bowl isn't going to do that. If you want a family taking the kids to the game who've never seen the game before, you want those kids going down low and catching the puck from Casey Cizikas or Johnny Boychuk.
Right. I have a
Because then
good
you have
story.
them hooked. They're hooked for life.
I have one good story I do want to say, and it has to do with this. And this is like I said. I mean, this is literally what I did. But I was already married. Well, I was about to get married. I was engaged, and my wife was a huge Adam Burt fan. Okay, which was really bizarre.
I have great Adam Burt Whaler stories.
That's really funny because this is a great Adam Burt story.
I stole him a computer.
So Adam, wow. Okay.
I used to work at Staples, right where all the Whalers used to live.
The Adam Burt Show. We never knew we'd go there today. Our dog, okay, was named Burt because after Adam Burt. Okay, we had Burt the dog, which was a famous Hockey Buzz dog. It predicted games and all that stuff. God rest his soul, Burt. But anyway, we named him Burt because Adam Burt had this enormous nose. The guy could eat a hoagie in the rain, right? He was just completely. He was a funny guy, but he was a nice guy, but he had this big ass nose. So we got our corgi and had a big nose. I'm like, let's name him Burt, because my wife would watch the games. She wasn't a hockey fan yet at that point, and she is now. But this is 11 years ago. So, or not, I mean more than that, 15 years ago. Gosh, time goes. So anyway. So I took her up to a Flyers-Devils game in the Meadowlands to see the Flyers play in a playoff game. This is the famous game where, if you remember, at that time, Brian Boucher is the goalie. He makes the save over his head on Niedermeyer on a breakaway. That was a save that was shown forever. It's that game. So we're at the game, get there early, we sit down, and I say, I got a surprise for you. So as we get out of the car up there, I was pretty smooth in these days, I hand her an Adam Burt jersey that I got made for her. Like, no one had an Adam Burt jersey, and he's like, that would be ridiculous. But he had, so number 2 Adam Burt jersey. I'm like, you got to wear this. We sat down in warm-ups right behind the goal, and all the Flyers picked up on and I said, turn around so they can see you. This is before I'm covering hockey or anything like that. Turns around. All the players see that there's a girl with an Adam Burt jersey on, and they thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So they would skate by her, and they would all like tap the glass. And one of them takes a shot, and this is before all the netting and everything. The puck pops over and lands in her hands, and she's jumping up and down. And Adam Burke comes by, takes another puck and throws it over to her, and she's like, yeah, she's got 2 pucks. And it was just that's the kind of stuff that happens. That from that point on, she was hooked into the thing. That really helped my life immensely because now she would watch hockey games. And because she thought these guys were good guys, and this was a playoff game. The Flyers were intensely nervous, but they thought that was fun. I don't know, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's my story. That has to change.
It does.
It does change.
If he's watching and he wants help marketing this team, I can be reached on Twitter at.
yeah. Seriously, that is number 1. I mean that
he needs a hockey liaison, or he needs people to say, you really want to do that?
No, I do. I do one. Oh, I know. One last thing, though. I mean, and this has been a complaint, and I do see the point to this. Okay, you're saying it will be crowded when they win and when they get to the playoffs, and it will be because there's a lot of people there too. I mean, part of it's just basic population, right? Which is the fact that there's hockey fans there. There are hockey fans there. The one thing that's interesting about the Islanders is I saw a lot of games. I covered a lot of games in Nassau Coliseum when they were not winning at all, but days before Tavares, and when they were really struggling, and then I cover, and I was always kind of unimpressed. There would be like 8,000, 10,000, whatever people there. And I'm like, this is, because I grew up hating the Islanders. They won 4 Stanley Cups when I was in my real formative years. So, but I went to a playoff game there once, and they made the playoffs against the Buffalo Sabres that one year, and this is the Ryan Smith year.
Yep.
Ryan Smith was traded there. So I'm in a playoff game.
Let me shed a tear for him.
Yeah. Ryan Smith is there, and when I went to that playoff game, I'm telling you what, that building was every bit the Spectrum. It was every bit. And all the people who were telling me all these years, oh, the Islanders don't really have hockey fans. Da 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 da. No, they have absolute real hockey fans, every bit as loud as Boston Gardens or the Spectrum or the Forum or any place, any of the old arenas I've been to. It was hopping. They just wanted they wanted a team that looked like they give a damn, and they made it there. And what I worry about are those fans coming when this team goes to the playoffs?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what we'll see.
But the thing is, though, those fans are for the most part always there. I call them the Mark Parishes or the Michael Pekkas, because those are the fans you see there in the playoffs wearing like Adrian Okoyen jerseys. Right. It's like, yeah, I haven't seen you in 10 years. Yeah. So, Steve Webb, I love that. I love Steve Webb. But those are the people. Those are like the fair weather, casual. Hey, they're good again. Let me dust off my jersey and go to a game. Those are those, and there's pride, and there's a large number of those. Yeah. I don't know. There's just this insecurity or this unwillingness to accept that they actually have a good team now that's moving in the right direction because of the past 20 years. Yeah. And maybe it's going to take a playoff series win to do that. Yeah. But at some point, this fan base needs to just stop feeling so insecure about itself and say, look, we're a good team. Let's go.
Right. I do agree.
And they have to do something about the obstructive view seats.
Yeah, I've gotten letters. I'm sure you got letters, too, from fans who are really pissed off about it.
Granted, they're charging, most of them are like $15. So, I mean, if you want to go to a game for $15, that's,
It just feels, I know there's an out clause, in 5 years or something. It feels like there's... it always felt like a negotiation tactic to me, going to the Barclays Center. It always felt like eventually they're going back to the island, and that this was like a big. But I don't think it's that anymore. I don't think. I think this is for real. I think they're going to stay there.
It has to work too, because the alternatives are not good.
Right. All right,
let's move. Realize that.
But they did play a good game against the Predators, and they did, and it was a big game for them also because they got guys going that they needed to get going. I noticed that they got the first goals out of guys like Lee and Oposo, and they needed that, And
they got another win without Yaroslav Halak, which
right.
They're getting wins out of Grice, and we said when Grice went there that he was a quality backup guy that could win games, whereas last year they had Neuwirth, but
Chad Johnson was a nightmare.
But Chad Johnson was a nightmare, and before that, we always said that the key to them not making the playoffs were those games that Kevin Poulin.
Right.
Or Anders Nielsen played that they lost. That was the difference between them making and missing the playoffs. And now if you have a steady backup like Grice, you can stem the tide until your goaltender is healthy.
I think they're starting to right the ship. The first line is definitely clicking now. Lee and Strome are going. Tavares obviously is doing his thing. The fourth line's the fourth line. The third line is finding some chemistry. Kulam and Grabowski and Brock Nelson have looked really good the last 2 games. And they're definitely a possession line. When they're out there, they have the puck. It's just the second line seems to be an enigma right now. Oposo, Bailey, and Nielsen are not working. And when they're not working, they're very easy to play against. Although Oposo did get on the board last night, that's the only line that's really not going right now.
Man, yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I think that line will get going, though. It feels like the kind of line to me that, one thing I like about the Islanders is they have these 4 lines. And this is an NHL now. The faster it gets, we talked about speed. The faster it gets, the more you have to roll 4 lines, because you just can't play. Players cannot play at the speed in a 3-line game. It's not possible.
But there's a but here. If you put out a 4th line who doesn't have speed, you just make that differential even wider. You have to have players who can keep up with the pace, who can play that 4th line. Otherwise, you put out, like a few years ago, when I use the Leafs as an example, you put out Fraser McLaren and Colton Orr, 2 enforcers who are slow skaters. You put them out against a 4th line who can skate, and it's a massacre. So, teams have the capability of playing 4 lines that have some ability and have some skating ability. Yeah, that's the way to go. But some teams don't have that kind of depth.
Let's talk about the Preds for a minute, though. They look really good. This looks like a really good team. That blue line, they're fast, and it comes from that blue line. They can move the puck. I think they're going to get enough offense now, too. I really do. I think they got Forsberg looks like the real deal. Neal looks like he's showing signs of finding some old, form that he had in Dallas and Pittsburgh. I think this team's going to score enough goals, and they're good defensively.
Yeah, they are. The Predators, I think, to be appreciated, have to be seen live.
I agree.
They are a totally different team. When you see them, like when you watch them on TV, they're like a lot of other teams, but when you see them live, you realize how solid they are, and you get to see all the little things that some of their players do away from the puck. One of the most interesting players to watch live is Shea Weber. I mean, by far, and not just because of what you think of the giant booming slap shot, but because I have not seen a defenseman in the NHL in years be a quarterback like Shea Weber is. Shea Weber literally is directing every player on the ice on people to pick up. He sees the whole ice so well. He's constantly pointing, and that just his direction missed last year in the Hawks playoffs was enormous. I mean, he really just completely he's and then Rene is crazy good. I mean, Rene is beyond what people think as well. I mean,
how good is Roman Josi too? Every time I see this kid play, I just get more and more of appreciation for him.
And it's like they lost Suter, but they got Josi, and there really was no difference. We haven't
even talked about Seth Jones.
Yeah.
Right, and Seth Jones is phenomenal, and he's going to be a superstar for sure.
Let me talk about one of the other games last night, and an area of concern that I don't think. I mean, some people saw it coming, but I'm not sure if we saw it coming this badly, and that's Pittsburgh. I mean, they won yesterday. They won their first game. They beat Ottawa 2-0. Ottawa was in the second of back-to-back games. Anderson had played both games. They were a tired group. They looked like they were tired. They couldn't generate any offense after scoring 7 goals against Columbus. Pittsburgh only scored 2 goals.
And they only had 2 points on those goals. You see that?
Yeah, Daniel Sprong, who's a really talented kid, but one of the few 18-year-olds who made the league, and Malkin scored the other goal, and Fleury gets the shutout. But the Crosby line didn't generate really anything. Crosby still has no points.
I'm telling you, I said it all along, man. What do you think of this, Ty? What are your thoughts on this? I don't think Crosby and Kessel are made to play together. They both want to carry the puck.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna be really bad news when they have to bump Kessel from that line and put him with Evgeny Malkin.
I know.
That's gonna really ruin his season, no doubt.
That's what they have to do, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's what 4 games, 5 games in. Some guys need. This is Kessel. Kessel's played. He's played in Toronto since 2009.
Yeah.
This is not exactly. Playing with someone that you played on with the Olympics either, because Kessel's an American, Crosby's a Canadian. Yeah. So these guys had no experience before the regular season started, and they had a solid preseason. So I think there is the potential there. I don't think you can abandon it after 4 or 5 games, but I mean the fallback option is not bad at all. Putting him with Malkin instead. Yeah, but this is the only team in the league that can do that.
Right, that's for sure. And
Malkin wants to carry the puck. That's the problem. It's like Crosby wants to be the center of attention in terms of he's the guy who distributes, and Malkin is the same way. Malkin is more of a shooter than he is a distributor of the puck. Where I think Crosby is the better playmaker of the two. So I mean,
when's Crosby gonna start shooting the puck though? My goodness.
This is the problem. Crosby feels the pressure to get Kessel going, and you can see this, and that's the problem right now. To me, like Crosby can't. When Crosby's just himself, he's himself, and we know that Crosby is not that easy to play with. People keep saying he's so easy to play with. Team Canada has the resources of every player that's been born in Canada, and they can't find the guy to play with Crosby in the Olympics. Like
they have a Kunitz on the team.
Right, they had to put Kunitz on the team.
Yes.
In Vancouver, they were putting Mike Richards with him. They literally didn't know what to do. This guy is hard to play with. And the reason is this: he is not a skilled superstar like we've known before. He is a skilled superstar who likes to cycle the puck. And the cycling, like if he played with the Sedins, it would be lights out and day over. But because the Sedins are the only ones who can cycle. They're the same thing. They cycle the puck well. But man, Crosby just he's trying now, and now the pressure to get Kessel going is affecting Crosby.
But Kessel's got a goal. I mean, Kessel was leading the team in scoring until yesterday. I mean,
but that's not it though. No, he is leading.
Yes, he was leading the scoring with 1.
With 2 points.
Two.
With 2 points, right? With 2 points, and
don't worry. The cure-all is here. The salve on the wound is here. The Toronto Maple Leafs come to town on Saturday.
That might help.
I will bet you.
No, don't go there.
That game is so set up for the Maple Leafs to win. I can't even tell you.
Okay, sure.
That game is. I will tell you right now. What can we'll come up with something, Mike. But that is definitely.
Box of Timbits.
Yeah. This is the kind of game that the Maple Leafs will win. Hockey Night in Canada against the Penguins that are struggling. The Penguins, you don't want to play a team like Toronto when you're playing like this. You don't. I mean,
sure you do.
You don't.
They want Columbus on their schedule.
Right. They want Columbus. You know, they want you really want to play good. And believe it or not, I've talked to players about this, and it's honestly true. You don't want to play struggling teams when you're playing poorly because there's nowhere to go but down. If you lose to a struggling team when you're playing poorly, you are screwed. If you lose to a good team, no one's going to sit there and say, oh, they suck because they lost to the Canadiens, they lost to the Lightning. But if they lose to Toronto, man, it's lights out, Mike.
I'm just saying Sidney Crosby's career stats against Toronto are obscene. He's always played very well against them.
Yeah.
The motivation
A lot of people have, though.
Right, but the motivation for Kessel is there. Jeez, Dan, today.
Sorry, I don't mean to. It's just there.
Wow, the motivation for Kessel is there. Obviously, first time against his former club. So I honestly see a potential massacre, but maybe I'm wrong. The Leafs play in Columbus tonight, and they'll break their 4-game losing streak against Toronto. So we'll see.
All right, I apologize for saying that there were no assists on those goals. There were assists on those goals. But the problem is this, like, again, for the Penguins. But the problem is this, because I can't. Why? Tell me. NHL.com. Tell me. I'm going to show you guys. I know you've seen this. This doesn't make. It always pisses me off. Sorry. Why the heck do you only list the goals and the box scores and not the assists? What is the point of that?
The box score.
No, this is the box score page on NHL.com.
That's the summary page.
That's the summary page. You got to click. See where it says box score? That's what you got to click on.
Yeah.
Fine. All right. Well, that's the scores. And for scores, can you not at least show? I know there's a scoring summary. Fine.
Yeah. See, I use them on the app. If you use the app, you get that. If you use the app, you get that directly.
All right. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's my opinion. We'll leave it there.
Can we talk about Logan Couture's injury?
Let's talk about Logan Couture's injury. Yes. Of course, my fault. The Sharks fans have told me. The fact that I back the Sharks, the fact that I say that they're for real, contenders and not pretenders, means that Logan Couture is going to get hurt.
It's a real thing. You curse teams like there's no tomorrow.
Thanks,
really does.
I really appreciate it.
So stop talking about that.
Thanks for having my back, man. That's awesome. I curse teams like there's no tomorrow.
You know how many cup dreams you've ruined for so many teams?
I have. But the opposite of that is this. The Devils fans know that whenever I pick them out of the playoffs, they go really, really far in the playoffs. Like they don't just make the playoffs; they go to the Stanley Cup final or whatever. So that's not worth it. That's not worth a shot like that, Mike. It's not. It's sad. Very sad.
I think they can survive this Couture injury. This team looks really. I know. They look really good. They really do. And Martin Jones hasn't missed a beat right now. And that's something that they haven't been getting the past couple of years. They haven't been getting quality goaltending. And they just and now you have Thornton and Marlowe in more of a support role. I like that. I like what I've seen so far because I've watched all their games and they play entertaining hockey.
Tell me Brent Burns doesn't look like he owns that team. Like
he's getting better and better and better.
I'm telling you, people keep saying he's not a Norris Trophy candidate. He is going to be a Norris Trophy candidate. I'm telling you this right now. He is going to be, and he could win it. And the thing, he is maybe their MVP. And he goes out there, and there's something about him that team just runs off him. And that team has never had a player like that. I've been a Sharks fan for years. You got to go back to Teemu Selanne for that. And that just doesn't, Teemu with San Jose was the last player they had that just ran everything. And by him being that way, it takes Marlowe and Thornton out of that light that they don't like to be in, and it makes them better.
Right.
Mike?
I think San Jose is a borderline playoff team.
Jeez.
I don't think, in spite of the fact that the Ducks.
Well, wait a second. Hold on, Ty. In what world could a team as talented as the Sharks be a borderline playoff team? Tell me this, Ty, and then Mike, you can finish your thought.
If they're in the Central, I would agree, but they're in the Pacific, which is
in the NHL. I'm talking about. I mean, there's no.
Well, the West is really good. Yeah, I mean that we can't sell that short. I mean, But I think this is a Central Division that's probably going to have 5 playoff teams. So if the Sharks can finish in the top 3, I don't agree that they're a borderline playoff team just because of where they are in the division and like where their division is and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you can see them, where if you stack them up against the Central, you can see where that would be the case because you have a team, one of Winnipeg, Dallas, or Nashville, Chicago, or they're not going to make the playoffs, or they're not going to win a wild card. So.
And that's what I'm saying, Ty. I'm saying they're going to battle for a wild card spot. They're not going.
You actually could get 4 teams in the Pacific this year.
Well, it depends on whether Vancouver's for real. It depends on whether
if Ryan Miller's healthy. This team is fine.
It depends on whether Los Angeles bounces back. I mean, I don't think that the 0-2-1 start of the Anaheim Ducks is reflective of what they're going to do.
No.
I think they're winning that division. I think they're going to win the division going away.
I think Calgary will right the ship too.
Right, I think exactly. So I mean, right there, I think there's 2 spots that are gone. So then you basically have San Jose battling with LA and Vancouver for the 3rd spot in the Pacific, and then battling with the likes of Nashville, Chicago, Dallas, as Ty said, in the Central for the wild card spot. So they're by no means guaranteed a playoff spot. They're going to need Martin Jones to play the way he's played so far. I think he's good. I don't know if he's that good. And they're going to need to stay healthy. Now they've already lost Couture. And they're going to need a locker room that doesn't have the dysfunction that it's had over the last couple of years. And they've got the same players. So how can that be?
Well, I mean, I think they got 2 big character guys in Joel Ward and Paul Martin.
That helps a lot.
So I think it's the same cast that for years was a playoff contender. And, they would have 2nd and 3rd round showings, and now you added some experience in Ward and Paul Martin, which I liked. So I think that gives them a boost here, but it does, like you said, come back down to Martin Jones because behind him, it's really not much to get too confident about. So they need him to be the guy that he's been for a week plus now. Whether that's going to be the case or not remains to be seen. You need a bigger sample size. But I mean, this guy looks like a goaltender that knows the division he's playing in. I mean, that's for sure. And obviously, being with LA has helped him out there. But yeah, it does come back down to him. But I think that I do think that Vancouver will fade over time. A lot of old legs on that team. And I know they have some of their younger guys stepping into the mix here, but a lot of miles on Burroughs, on the Sedins, Radin Verbata, Dan Hamhuis, and Alex Edler. And you got a feeling that those guys are going to break eventually over time. And Anaheim still is not on track yet. Once Anaheim gets on track, they are a juggernaut. We know that. Whether it's Bruce Boudreau leading the charge or not, we don't know. But you know that Anaheim is simply a matter of time thing versus is this team good? So we'll see there. But I do think that the Sharks are a top 3 team in that division.
And based on the first couple weeks of now we're entering week 2 of the regular season, Edmonton is 0-4, and I'm not that I thought that they were
tanking for Matthews.
Yeah, not that I thought they were going to challenge for a playoff spot, but.
By the way, Griffin Reinhart in that orange jersey looks like he's carrying the Great Pumpkin on his back.
Well, orange is really good, a really applicable color for Griffin Reinhart lately.
Oh, I didn't see. I didn't go there.
Yeah, I will. But
actually, I didn't see that. I saw the first game where he took like 3 penalties in a row, and he struggled a little bit last night. But I mean, he's going to get a chance to play, and hopefully he can grow as a player. But
honestly, I think that right now, they had a tough pairing, back-to-back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And playing St. Louis twice in the first 4 games, a team that's probably going to win or get close to winning the Central. The schedule was tough. They went to Dallas. I mean, the schedule was not very, pleasing for them. But you know what? They're going to have that. They're going to run into that a lot in the Western Conference.
Right.
That's a tough conference. So, I mean, Taylor, they're without Eberle. I have never thought that Cam Talbot was a legitimate number 1.
I wouldn't blame him for anything yet, though.
No, I'm not.
I actually think they're better in goal. I think he's been pretty good.
But their defense is not better, and
their defense is not better at all.
The pressure is on these number 1 picks, these high pick kids like Yakupov and Hall to produce. And if you get a couple more weeks into the season and they have one win, I mean, I can just imagine the Edmonton fan base starting to lose it again.
Buffalo is clearly better. I mean, they're not. We all agree that they're not there yet, but they look like an NHL hockey team. Edmonton's not there yet.
Yeah, and the thing that's really screwed Buffalo is the Leonard injury, because Chad Johnson right now is their number one goaltender. Dan.
Yeah, we know that. I've read that book before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so let's look at the weekend games real quick because we're already out of time. Always so much fun, such a fast hour. Okay, so we got a couple of good ones. San Jose's in New Jersey tonight, speaking of which. So that could be another victory. Although that's a good trap game too, so you never know. Those trap games, Toronto is in Columbus tonight. I do think Columbus will win that game. That there's just such a desperation with Columbus right now that
something there quick.
And that is the season debut of Mimico, Ontario's David Clarkson against his former team.
Oh, he's pumped too tonight.
He's pumped.
True. Yeah. I like that. I like that idea too. We have Detroit on the big games this weekend. In my opinion, there's a lot of good ones. Calgary Winnipeg's going to be a good one for sure. That's tonight too. But this weekend we go tomorrow. Tomorrow night you have Detroit Montreal, which is going to be, I think, a top-notch game because we've seen Montreal now is undefeated and Detroit is, I think, undefeated as well, right? So you're looking at a big battle there, and that's on Saturday. And then of course you have the Kessel Pittsburgh battle on Saturday night as well, where Kessel
that'll be an interesting one to see. Yeah,
it's in Pittsburgh. That'll be a good one to see for sure. The Sharks visit the Island too, which is going to be good. That's going to be a fun one. And then let's see what we have Sunday too. Let's see Sunday.
Columbus Chicago could be interesting in the sense if Columbus gets off the schneid, because Brandon Saad, his first meeting against the Blackhawks in Chicago, I'm sure I can't imagine the Chicago fan base has any kind of animosity towards Brandon Saad because he's going for so he probably will get some sort of round of applause. Because he was a key part of that team that won a couple Stanley. I mean, he wasn't on the first one, but he won the last two. So, I think that'll be a pretty a notable game to watch on Saturday.
Chicago's got a lot of moving parts right now too. They really don't have their top nine defined at all.
Yeah, and they didn't look very good yesterday in Washington, Dan.
No, they didn't.
They were struggling a little bit. Not Taves and Kane, but
no, those two look fantastic.
Yeah, but the younger guys.
They do look fantastic. But can we talk for a second about this Kane thing? Is a distraction to this team. I was around this team, when they were in Philly. This is a distraction to them. There's just no way of getting around it. It's definitely a distraction. It's playing into it's not helping them right now. No, they're not. It's not like Kane is playing well, like you said. Taves is playing. They're both Kane and Taves. They are, but the rest of the players, you can just sense there's a.
Well, I mean, the impression that I get is that this isn't going to end anytime soon because the news regarding all of the stuff that happened over the summer, there's been nary a peep out of the Erie County DA about the case, whether it's going to be dismissed or charges are going to be put down after all that stuff that happened with the accused's attorney resigning. There has been nothing, not one peep. So it doesn't sound like it's going to get resolved like in the next couple days. So as long as it's unresolved, it's going to be a distraction.
They also, just from the roster standpoint, I was expecting Teravainen to get more of an expanded role, and we really haven't seen that yet. And they have a desperate need for a second-line center right now.
Well, and Isamov is the second-line center.
They have a desperate need for a second-line center.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with you 100%.
I like Isamov. I do. I really do. I just don't like him in that role.
No, I think
he's a different kind of player for the Blackhawks too. Like he's not a Blackhawk type player, and I thought that from the moment they made that trade, it was like, okay, yeah, he's a talented, skilled player, but is he a Blackhawk type player?
And I thought the key to that deal might have been Marco Dano. Then they sent him to the minors.
And that was the point I was going to make. You think that there's a lack of trust between Therrien and Galchenyuk about Galchenyuk moving to the middle. I mean, Dano is a 20-year-old kid. He's got a lot of offensive talent, but we know Joel Quenneville likes to have somebody who is a solid two-way guy, like a Dave Bolin, like a Michael Handzus.
Yeah.
and Anisimov up the middle on either of his top two lines. I mean, Brad Richards was defensively responsible.
He was.
A guy like Marco Dano or Teravainen because they're not fully developed as players. But with the exodus that happened after last year because of the salary cap, they're probably later in the season going to have to roll the dice and play those young guys and live through their mistakes.
No, I do agree.
As much as they'd like to, they don't have the benefit of letting guys hang out in Rockford for 4 years.
Right.
Anymore, yeah, they don't. I agree. That was their MO for a long time. So I'll leave you with this. I love this. Brandon Sod, Brandon Happy. This is from theheckler.com. I thought this was fantastic, so I just had to go with that. Have a good weekend, everyone. It's going to be fun. I mean, we got a lot of good hockey this weekend. It's beautiful. Enjoy the fall weather if you're in the Northeast. If you're in Arizona, just enjoy another day like it always is.
Enjoy the Duke of Glendale.
Right.
I love that game.
And if you're watching baseball, I feel sorry for you. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Talk to you soon.
Go